Hey, what's up everyone? Ethan here. Couple things before we start today's video. Number one, unfortunately we had some sound quality issues in the first few minutes of the video. Everything is resolved for the rest of the video, and if it's a big deal for you, feel free to skip ahead 3 minutes. Number two, we're excited to announce merch is on the way. T-shirts, rash guards, as well as high quality Rogue knee pads. If you're interested, you could reach out to us on DM, on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. Also catch us at the Academy for more information. Number three, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe before you go. Also, we need you to hit the like button and share this video with everyone you know. Thanks so much, guys.
So I'm just doing a simple drill. So I'm not gonna ask you to reverse them because sometimes there's times to reverse and there's times to drill the specific pattern in the beginning to get there. So if you don't get here, what are we gonna dump him over when you never get on drag? So you're just pushing down, coming here, pulling hard, lifting, and you should just be able to drive him up here, back up again. His hands are up again, and I'm going drag, pull hard, grab, lift. And he should be here above me, super light. I'm not, because if you get him to here, you can do anything you want. If I want to take his back, I can spin him. If I just want to dump him over and come up, like, you do anything you want. What I care more about you is getting into the rep ranges where you're just grabbing and shooting, grabbing and shooting, grabbing and shooting. So there's three things you care about. Pushing the hands down, right, so that I affect the angle of the lat muscle pulling, shooting super long through the pocket, and bringing myself to him. Okay, don't go thinking you're gonna be here, reaching, you're gonna be short on the hook and super long. I also wanna be super tight to him when I'm shooting through with my body, because what I care about as I'm about to do this, he's not gonna cooperate that easy, okay? He's gonna have two reactions. He might pick up this leg, and I gotta be ready that if he picks up this leg, pick up the leg of flip, that I'm coming up just as quickly, but I don't wanna be here where we're so far away, and he picks up the leg, and now he's coming too far. So I gotta be tight to him. Secondly is, the reason I'm here like this and shooting with myself is if he flares, I want to be able to throw that leg long and hook that leg. But if I was back here, I would have never hooked. So I would have lost the first safety and the second safety on the drag. So when you shoot yourself through, whether it's a 2-on-1 grip or I'm here, I'm shooting myself through this pocket and pulling back hard. And now you know the reason, because it's just not the momentum in me coming back. It's to have the safeties on the flares. First safety, second safety. We're not going there right now, but I also want to be able to catch this lat. So you had multiple reasons why I go like this. And I bring myself to him because I want to be able to be prepared for this flare. I want to be able to be prepared for the two safeties I need in case he flares. And I also want to be able to grab this lat or potentially grab onto this position of the Y wedge behind the tricep so that I can make the turn. So on the first thing, we're gonna do three things. 1, 2, and then we're grabbing and hiking. So really it's 4 things. The only thing I care about is you getting above you. I would love for you to be able to drill one side, one side, one side, one side, okay? We're on 10 rep counts, 5, 5, 5, 5, before we add on these flares. Okay, guys, let's do it. But he also knows, right, that, man, you've been doing all these things. Hypothetically, you've done it to him 3, 4 times. And every time you come around this turn, and we went through these all different things, like how far I get him through the pocket, and don't know, right? I just know that I had his hand, and I come like this. And when I was yelling before, I see this all the time. If you sit with me, guy will go like this, grab his hand, and then they'll let go and go like this. He just had his hands. Like, why would you let go of his hands? Like, no one, a good player will never let you accept, you won't accept this. And you just had this, and you go, you're basically the worst poker player in the world. So you're going to trade, you had kings and you're going downwards and you're going to trade them for 9s. Like, you're going down the deck. So you're like this, and let's just talk about this. I come like this and I shoot. And as I'm doing this, he's flaring that leg like this because he's going to pass me, because everything that I've been doing to him was either grabbing on here or snaking myself so far this way, Y wedging and getting his, that's what we did last week, right? So I come like this. And I'm going to say on this guy, I went like this, and I go pull, and he goes on that flare. I have to get comfortable right now bringing both of these ankles behind me. So I'm learning how to do this because I know what he wants to do. He wants to get this over here and then touch my hip on the back side and get all the way around me, right? So I got to do the opposite. I got to take that hip out. So in slow motion, as I'm going like this, he's flaring. So I'm going like this because I'm coming up also because I want to keep these hips away from him too, right? If I can grab this leg, great. That would help me because he would help me come up quickly. But if not, who cares? I'm still going to run up on you too, right? So you're like this. We're going slow motion. I just push these things and he's starting to flare. And I'm going, whoop, I'm up also. And now I'm coming up. As I come up, don't stay here, okay? This is where I was on my grip. As you come up, this hand drops right here, right away. He wants to make his progression too. He's going to do the same thing. As we land, he's going to re-drag me also. So I got to go, As I'm going like this though, the reason I'm telling you, I'm putting my hand here so people could see. As I'm coming from here, I'm dropping here because he wants to make his progression also. I want to keep some distance between the two of us that I can reset the head to that side. That's what he wanted to do in the beginning. I want to do it again after the turn. So when the physical turn happens, make sure, this is where I was as I was coming up. I'm like this, right? I'm coming up. This hand is just sliding into this pocket. Does it do a lot? No, doesn't do a lot. It creates bone and flesh and a pocket between the two of us so that I can reset my head to this side of his shoulder line. I also don't want him to progress so that he can re-drag me. Right? So there's a reason I went from here because he's going to drag me also. So I want to be here throwing this into the pocket to stop him. So my hand right away from here comes here because I want to be able to go, and I'm on this side and now I'm passing so that he can never get to my back hips. Okay, so there's a reason why you do what you do. So don't pause it when you come up. When you come up on that drag, make sure as that S comes out, those two ankles retract back, that you're coming up. The moment you come up, this hand that was on that wrist right here comes right to the blade of where the elbow bends, okay, guys? So, but top player, I know in the beginning it's going to have a little weird coordination. You're like this, you're coming through, and I'm pulling. He's flaring. I'm coming up also, right? Because he was pulling me up. Right, because he was retracting anyway. So as I come up, I blade through, I flare also, and now we're driving through on our passing. Okay, so let's part up and try it. Let's do it, guys. You're like this, and the reason I'm just going to ask you is because you got to get good at that S out this way or S out either way. I'm like this, and I'm just doing this behind my leg, and now I'm shooting. Try your best not to shoot forward on him because sometimes you can hurt him. Like he's sitting here like this, trying to figure out where to pass. And I'm just taking my leg out and dropping low because I'm going to shoot in like a rocket to knock you back. So it's the same position, right? I'm just going to ask that person, so you just get into the habit, don't come up vertically, shoot low, and then beat the angle on how you're going to knock them over the calves. Okay? All I'm going to ask you to do is a 10 count on it, and you're going to do that with speed. Right, so it's the same thing as the S the other way. So if I was here on this drag and I'm coming up and now eighth is flaring, it's the same position. It's the same position. So I want you to be able to use it in other angles also. So you're playing a game like this, and now we're going, okay, I'm right here. This is how we play all the time. You're not touching my feet, and I shoot this guy back. And as I shoot back, I lower my head, and I go coming in. The reason I'm going to ask is sometimes when you land, they're trying to guillotine you, right? But if I come up like this and he's hitting that guillotine on me, I don't really care. Because as long as I stay my leg on this side, I'll give you the guillotine. I'm willing to trade with you because I'm going to make your life nightmare when I get up onto this side over here, right? So if you hit the guillotine on me, I'm still always going to be on this side. So as we fall down, this is where I'm not letting your hand out, and I'm not going to let this hand out. You wanted to make this sack race, then you got to pay for it. Whether I choke you or not, I'm going to keep that hand in that pocket for at least 90 seconds so I kill your shoulder, right? Because you're stuck like this. The only thing I have to do is make sure that I keep my hand high with my shoulder high so I don't let your hand out. And now, some people can finish the choke from that position. That's a very famous choke. A lot of people do it. And if you can't, who cares? I'm not letting that hand out, right? Your hand will fall asleep about 92 minutes. Your shoulder will ache all night. I'm going to make your life a nightmare for that one, okay? So come back again. And it's not to be mean, but you wanted to go for the guillotine and crank my neck. When you had a side control position, you should have let go of me. And you should have recovered, so you should be paying the price later. You're like this, same position. I'm like this. I'm shooting that leg behind me, lowering my head, and what did I say? If I'm gonna knock him over here, I'm sacrificing my head so he can wrap it, but my leg's gonna always stay on the outside of this because I can't let this leg, I can't have hip and head on the same side. So if he's gonna grab on as I'm coming up, and I'm clearing that side on this side, now you can have my head. And I'll give you the neck, right? But now we land here. This doesn't have nothing to do, I don't even want you to drill this, but the reason I was bringing it up before, put this leg down for me, he's like this on my neck. I'm not letting go of this neck. I'm not letting go of your hand. So this hand goes long to cover this hand. So now I'm not letting this thing out, right? So I'll keep this guy super long. Now Ethan will tell you, he can't get his hand out. So now you got to pay the price, right? Most times you can choke him because I'll tripod up and I'll kill this artery, right? And then he'll tap, but I'm not letting that hand out. If you wanted to go for the guillotine, you should have been bailing on me already. You should have gotten out of there, but you wanted to hold a silly guillotine with a guy cross-side on you, you got to pay the price, right? So same position, right? You're just getting comfortable, S-ing, coming out, driving into the pocket, lowering your head, same position before we add to the arm drag again. So I just wanted you to see it from a different angle. That's the same S-ing. That's the same S-ing. Some people I see are cheating with the drag, and they're coming here, and they're coming like this, and they're lifting themselves up. Now you got to stabilize yourself behind you. This thing has to be back here, and I'm driving up into this thing. So that's why I'm taking a different way, because you're shorting the move, and then you're not gonna have that move in other angles also. Okay, guys, let's part them and do it. Make sense? Yeah. Guys are catching up to the wrestling guys, and ADCC, you will see it all this weekend coming up. From Nikki Ryan, gentlemen that didn't grow up wrestling. So now they wrestle up, right? They sit, and then you see Gordon do it and all this stuff. How are you gonna go wrestling up? You're like this, right? And now, or you're like this, and you're taking both of your legs like this. Like you were sitting here, and now I'm just talking about like what the real mindset is, like real comp, right? Like not this where we go like, we're like two friends. Okay, how's your week? You did good? Oh yeah, it was like great, man. Like that's not real. And you're like this, and now I'm trying to figure out if I can wrestle. I'm only shooting one leg back behind me, right? I'm shooting one leg back behind me, and I'm making a commitment to lower my skull, and now I only cared about one thing, is getting around that angle. Because as I'm shooting back, I'm going, ugh, and now we're here. What happens after? I don't know. Maybe he picks this leg up, and now I'm starting to, no, I mean like stand. Maybe he picks his leg, and now I'm starting to wrestle up, right? I have no idea. But I'm not going to telegraph it, right? I'm like this, and he's trying to touch my feet, because if he can touch my feet, now he flares, right? Either this way, or he picks up my leg, and now he's like this, shelving me. All these things, like, so I'm here protecting my feet and trying to grab onto his hand so I can drag, and now we're like this, and I go, I just put that thing behind me. Right? Because I could always bail on it. I put the thing behind me. I just lowered my head. And what did I care about? I cared about that knee right there. Because I'm coming up, and I got to make sure. I don't know what's going to happen over here. If he knows how to guillotine, I just know I got to get to the outside of that kneecap. So as I'm dropping my head, I'm on this side coming over, because I want to be able to drive you back. But I got to make sure. You cannot have head and hip on the same side. Right? So I only cared about one thing. But now I see people going like this, and guys like this, and they're going, like, you're never going to pull this off. You're never going to, or they're doing here, and they're trying to combine two more, going into a drag, and now the guy hasn't flared, and they're coming up like, you're just going to get knocked back. Like, I mean, you're trying to mix 4 different moves together with a little bit of each one, and nothing has any kind of, like, system or idea. I'm like, what's he really doing? What is he really looking at? What is he trying to read? I know what I'm trying to read. I want to get to control your hands, but you keep pulling your hands back. Every time I go grab onto your hands, you keep pulling them back, right? And every time I do this, you pull back your upper body. That's the time. That's the time. That's the time to go, whoa. And I'm looking, that leg's behind me, and I go on this outside, and now I'm here driving you back. Okay, so that's, try to understand like why we want to do what we want to do, okay, and what their reaction is and why I'm taking out. Because a lot of people I know want to compete, but I got to get into this. I can't just show him stuff. I can't go like this and go, like this is never going to happen. Never. I'm like this trying to figure out if I can touch, and I go, oh, legs behind, and now I'm shooting through. But I'm not shooting through like this, because then he goes, grabs on the other way. He goes, grabs on the guillotine, and I start throwing this thing over my back. And now head and hip on the same side. Not gonna work, right? You're gonna get in trouble. Okay, guys, let's partner up and do it. Okay.